We go. Welcome to Porch Play Chat, sponsored by the American Association for Promoting the Child's Right to Play, or more affectionately named IPA-USA. IPA-USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association, and you can find more about them at ipaworld.org. Porch Play Chats are our way of promoting play. And so these conversations focus on a wide range of topics with people that are just as passionate about play as we are. You can find the latest Porch Play Chats by visiting our website at IPAUSA.org. And up in that top right-hand corner, you'll see the link to our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube channel. One Porch Play Chat is released every week on our Facebook page and on the YouTube channel. So I hope you'll join us and join the organization, as well as take advantage of these free Porch Play Chats. I'm Deb Lawrence, president of IPA USA, and with me on the porch today is Angie, and Angie Nastovska is partnering with the Early Childhood Ed Center. And Angie developed this entire curriculum for the organization that really focused on the Reggio Emilia Approach. But currently, she works as a member of the iLEAD Maker Schools Network team and is the Director of Humanities, Innovation, and Academic Rigor. But what I think is really important about the iLEAD programs is that they are play-based. So academic rigor does not mean academic rigor as we view it, but it's academic rigor with opportunities to embed playful learning, which I think is such a difference from what we may be seeing in our early childhood, primary, middle, and secondary grades. So Angie is working passionately to establish a national and global presence as a change agent. And today she's going to join us and talk about lifelong play and why it's so important for play to be embedded in every grade level and in every early childhood classroom, and why MIT is behind playful learning. And then she's going to share with us some ideas, experiences, and practices. So Angie, welcome. We're so glad to have you. It's so excited.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
So let's just start. What are you thinking about when you're talking about lifelong play?
So I'll just start with something personal. I think it's really important for people to connect. I'm mom of two. My little one is 11 months old, and my older one is toddler, 3.5. But I'm always that mom that gets scolded and gets the look on the playgrounds. Mm-hmm. And instead of being and voicing myself and sick and tired of it, I have assumed the role of a societal change agent. Mm-hmm. So you might wonder how. Yes, I let my child be. I want my child to fall. I want my child to learn from mistakes. And I really, really am a firm believer that there is a milestone for every age and stage. And when they're little, it's not the stage that we hover over and we tell them, step here, put your hand here. No, don't do that. Go up that way. No, slides are only down, feet down first. So yes, I'm one of those moms. See what happens if you go head down first. How about you put your feet up here and fall and see how it feels? Mm-hmm. However, I've had a lot of comments of whose child is that? What is that child doing? How are they doing it? And recently, how I learned to overcome my frustrations was a mom approached me and said, I see what you're doing every time I see you on the playground, and I really admire you. I'm not one of those moms, but I'm going to tell you that with my first child, I made a mistake. I never let my daughter fall. She said, literally, I'm not exaggerating. I was there for her. Every time she would trip, I was there. Every time she would wobble, she said, even when she was learning how to walk, I never let her fall. And she said, respectively, now when I see her, she is 19. She's single mom. She's at home. And she said, she's a beautiful person. I would not say she's not a beautiful person, but she has never learned the survival skills. And I really think it's because of that. So of course I have so much to say, but I just smiled and said, thank you for the mommy advice. And thank you for sharing your experience with me. And I said, everyone had their own journey. She'll find her way too. But then I felt bitter, sad, and happy at the same time, because she on her own learned the tons of research that you guys do and that everyone has behind why not just with kids, but lifelong play. So I'm a proponent for play, but what we always mistake for play is the free for all. And at iLEAD schools, we have something that's one of our design elements, because we're also project-based learning schools. And we have an element that must be integral part of everything that we do with the kids, which is voice and choice. So a lot of people take that free for all, but what we mean is developing agency in a child, which means you as a facilitator, which are our teachers, are the knowledge expert, but you must facilitate a process where all the kids think cross and interdisciplinary, but at the same time have their voice and choice in how are they going to explore whatever it is that you're trying to help them apply. So then why lifelong play? Fast forward, I worked with an amazing global team a few years ago. We met in Chicago first, and then we went for a focus session at MIT, but no one knew why. So this was a global group of educators that we were supposed to reimagine new frameworks for global education. So of course, first we had some sessions with Peter Senge on systematic thinking, and that was the play itself, to open the viewpoints, to help us understand that everything has systems, but systems wouldn't work if you are not your authentic self, which again leads to play and letting yourself be playful and open to opportunities. And then they walked us through the MIT graduate school, and they immediately took us to the media lab, and they said, what do you notice? So what you notice is what an adult eye would perceive at first. It's chaos. There's no walls. Everything is glass. There's weird different levels all over. Kids, adults are all over. If you pause me to say, do you have any idea what that child is doing? I would say no, because what it seemed like, there was piles of mess of toys everywhere. There were gadgets, there were electronics, there were Legos, there were iPads with kids' programs and things. And then finally, we got into a space that said, lifelong kindergarten. That's the way that we should live. And we walk into the room and we meet the almighty, what I call him, the doctor of Lego robotics, Mr. Rensick, who published the book about lifelong kindergarten. And he's one of the most subtle and humble people that you ever meet. And the reason why we get to talk to him was because he had firsthand experience of why global education needs reimagination and reimagining it, because evolutions are redundant. We don't need to reinvent the same thing over and over, or just change bits and pieces. And revolution is going against something or inspired by something that didn't work. So he said, imagination and invention is new. So there's no perimeters. We don't set perimeters, but I want you to know is this background. So he said, I'm going to give you background, and then you're going to go and reimagine global education. He said, as he was overseeing the admissions of the MIT graduate school, what he realized is that MIT gets all these kids with stellar accolades. And when I say that, I mean it. Kids with GPAs that we have never seen in our lives, 525, over 5, with degrees and certificates from all over, doing everything. And of course, when you see that on paper, as an admission officer, you say, yes, I want that in my student body, and I want to make it as diverse as possible. So as soon as they would get a good cohort of kids, they would get them together. And year after year, this was 3 consecutive years before they launched the Media Lab and the principles upon which is based right now. What they have realized is they get all these amazing children, when they have no idea what to do. They get them together and they say, this is it. This is what you've been working for your entire life. Now you're free, because at the Media Lab, you don't have majors. You get to create your own majors. You don't have teachers or professors. You get to choose the professionals that you need in order to help you complete a project, to initiate an initiative, to do, I mean, literally you are the driver of the education and the creator. The sky's the limit into what you can do. And they purposefully did it so that we stay away from the standardized classification of education, and we open it to the lifelong play. If you have developed as a person according to the maximum of your needs, potentials, and capacities, meaning play has never been an issue in your life, that naturally by the time you come to college or graduate school, you would know what you want to do, or you would know what you want to invent or create for yourself. So that's what they did. They opened a blank space. The problem was we don't produce those children with the current educational system.
We do not. No.
So what his skepticism was is that kids not only don't know how to play, but everything that goes underneath the iceberg of play and what play prepares us for: taking risks, being independent, developing agency, problem solving. And the best professional development that one of our partners does on the Maker team, Amber Soto, our director of mathematics, she does a professional development series called Embracing the F Word for Failure, people, for failure. So, and embracing failure, like how can we intellectually fail and playfully fail? And one holds the rigor, which is if you fail intellectually, then you're going to know what you need to learn, know what you need to go back and practice. And if you fail in play, then you're going to know physically and social emotionally how to put yourself together for another try. None of that was and still isn't present amongst the kids that go through regular traditional schooling. And adults that know and are proponents for play know that the attribution is to the lack of play or opportunities to be yourself past the third grade, which usually it's kind of like the societal standard for acceptance. Until third grade, maybe you can play. But nowadays, even parents are asking for standards in kindergarten.
And so what I hear from the MIT experience, what I hear from what you're saying is that what we hope for every child is that they reach their potential, right? The potential they were gifted at conception. We hope that every child, I think every educator out there wants every child to reach their potential. But our teaching practices and our teaching strategies and our teaching structure is preventing every child from reaching their potential. And it's because of what we do to them with good intentions, but with a lack of understanding and knowledge about the harm that we do to development when we're restricting them and keeping them in a teacher-directed or a teacher-structured place.
Absolutely.
Instead of opening it up, following their interests, doing all those things. So I think the MIT lesson is one that the education system really needs to be thinking about. You can create kids who are very, very bright, intellectually, cognitively, but have little or no ability to interact with others, to collaborate, to innovate, to take initiative, because they're just waiting for you to tell them what to do next.
Yes.
And which worksheet to fill out and which page in the textbook they have to use. And so I think that is the struggle that we're currently facing in the education system. And unfortunately, just as you said, it's becoming more and more of a critical mass because the standards and assessment and expectations and accountability are out of control.
Absolutely. And also, Deb, I wish um, adult education has more presence in this porch talks and in the advocacy portion, just to listen to what we're saying, because I participate in adult education. I mean, I have led tons of workshops and created tons of workshops, but I'm just a droplet in a huge pool of change that needs to happen. And by far, I'm not saying I'm giving up, or will I ever give up.
Right.
But I think one of the strands that whose DNA must change, something must happen, is the teacher preparation programs.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what we're also facing with. You will get educational program, right, like ours, that's very forward thinking, that's very about child-centered pedagogy, child-centered development. But then you're going to get, and I'm going to use the word teachers right now, because there's a huge difference between teacher preparation programs and facilitators of learning that we need.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to reshift, retrain, recode entire adult brain before we put these people into our spaces, because they're not traditional classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And small aspects such as, I'm sorry, no, you don't have a teacher desk. You should see the faces that we get, like, I don't
What?
get to hide behind a desk. What are you telling me? All those little people will have access to me all the time. So that's one of the first things. And also when we try to combine with what developmentally appropriate, what all of our crazy people over here talk about, and what's currently happening is that, let's see, kindergarten nowadays is a place where kids spend most of the time doing math worksheets, because
Yeah.
math is always the hardest, even more hard than reading and writing, right? And then phonics flashcards, because
my
from
God.
whole language approach pendulums swung back again to phonics. So let's make sure we drill and kill the flashcards.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from what we need to be doing, which is building blocks and finger painting to practice the fine motor movement before we put a pen or pencil in their fingers. So kindergarten is becoming more like the rest of school. There is nothing different. And
Angie, preschool is too.
I
Right? They're
know.
doing flashcards in infant and toddler rooms. And, it's really funny. So I'm a teacher educator in a community college that's NAYC accredited, right? So for it's 2-year higher ed program. We play all the time. And it's difficult for the students. But that, I think and I don't think our program is unique in that way, because I've talked to other faculty who do the same piece in their their teacher education programs, but I don't think it's common, right? I think
Yes.
it is. I think we're missing the opportunity. And I don't know if you know Walter Drew,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Drew, right? And so Dr. Drew's on tomorrow with Carly, and they're talking about why we have to help adults learn to play, and how they do their play sessions where you actually, as an adult, have to play, so that you can experience that concept of that play is meaningful and relevant, and that you learn you're using a variety of integrated skills in order to do that play. Anyway, so I agree, those are the things that we need to help people sort of not focus on, but feel free enough to explore
And
playful.
embrace it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think you nailed it. It's right there. It's the fear. I think we've been programmed by society, by our teachers and parents too, because parents want what's best for us. And once the entire society tells you that when you start going to school, it's not okay to play anymore, and when you get the good notes, because your child has been prim and proper sitting and listening, that's
Mhm.
what you think that all your child has to do is that. Versus me, my child comes yesterday and says, Mommy, at school, I tried to hammer a book. I'm like, tell me more about it. And he
Uh-huh.
said, well, I was trying to create something. So first I started with one book and, of course, creative play. And I said, then what happened? And a teacher came and she snatched the book and said, books are not for hammering. So I said, well, remember, and he says, problem solvers. We always go to that. We're problem solvers. And I said, well, what can you do next time? He said, I didn't have time this time, but next time I'm going to tell her, hey, wait, I'm creating something. And I said, yeah, you go ahead and tell her you're a problem solver and you're trying to create something. I'm like, son, I don't know how that will go, but you try.
It's worth a risk, right?
Right. Yeah. And I'm fine. I'm fine being the mom that gets those snotty comments of your child wasn't the first time listener today. And in front of them, I'll say, well, mom, try please to listen, when they talk. And then we go home and we just talk about, the importance of discourse and the importance of letting someone finish something or acknowledging instead of, being first time listener only. But to go back to the freedom, I think with children, because they're not programmed yet, everything comes and goes and everything is, they test and trial how much they can go and how does it impact them and what are the consequences. With adults, I think that stops because
Oh.
we are comfortable in the safety zone when everything is normal and
Mhm.
quiet and predictable. That's
Mhm.
another thing that as adults would fear. But let me ask everyone this. When was the last time that you picked up, and I'm talking about the new jobs, not like the ones that you have had for 20 years, the same job,
Mhm.
but the newer jobs, when was the last time that your entire week looked the same like the last week? I know according to mine, I am on a roller coaster, right? But I love it. And I think the reason why I love it is people say, well, Angie, that's your personality. Sure, I'm bubbly by nature, but also I am open to
Mhm.
uncertainty, to
Mhm.
failure, to test and trial, to working with new people, working on new ideas versus nonstop working on the same schedule, predictable routines, predictable people, and all that. So I think that's a training. And but I know that play is instrumental in that
Mhm.
because going back to, and that this is one of the resources that probably you'll post in the comments in the bio of the YouTube version of this, the MIT Doctor of Lego Robotics, Mr. Renzik, that the book that we're talking about, The Lifelong Kindergarten, is as he says, to thrive in today's world, the fast changing world, people of all ages, remember, not your grade 1 because you are 6'7", not your grade 2 because the people of all ages must learn to think creatively and act creatively and to unpredictable situations, adapt and adopt. And the
Mhm.
best way to do is by focusing more on imagining, creating, playing, sharing, and reflecting,
Mhm.
just as children do in play.
Mhm.
So fast forward, I am in a leadership position right now, but just a juxtaposition to how we compartmentalize kids. You're in this grade because you're that age. You're in that. Do we compartmentalize jobs by age? We don't. But what do we create? We create confirming kids that by age, they know which grade they have to be. So when they decide not to go to college, if they don't, how are we expecting them to respect someone older or to help and adopt someone younger or vice versa, someone that's younger than them at a better position than them? How, where does all that go? If the standards that we set are no play, you're in single range age, and you travel as a cohort. No, you can't go talk to the older kids. No, you can't go further down, and so on and so on. So
It's a mess, isn't it? It's a mess. It's a mess. And you know, if any of us remember the theoretical foundations of early childhood education, they say children build on prior learning. Yet we expect a totally different person in the workplace than we do in what we're programming in the primary, middle, and secondary grades. And so if I think that's an article in itself.
Yes.
We're not getting what we want in the workforce because of what we're doing in our public education and private education. Private education in many cases is still on the same path because they have parents who are paying tuition versus having a free public school. So I think those are the provocations that we need to be putting out there. You're not getting what you want in the end because of what you're doing in education. And it's not the kid's fault. Right? It's because of you haven't given them the prior knowledge that they need to be able to grow and develop and be creative and innovative. I think of all the 21st century learning principles, and then I say, how's that possible in our current education environment? Until we can change the structure and the expectations of the education system, it's going to be difficult to move us to the 21st century innovation that we're looking for. So, you know, I think that is an entire book, I think.
Right, Deb. And as you were talking, I was thinking you teach adults as well. And we had this conversation of, it's very interesting how uncomfortable adults feel to play. You set provocations when we invite people to the PlayMakers Institute at Aquadosa at one of our schools. The first one, we just had adults sitting and waiting, even when we gave them permission to get messy, to break things, to explore, to build things. They still had no idea what to do because it wasn't spelled out step by step. Then the second time we brought kids in, we thought maybe they will start playing with the kids. They ended up observing the kids. So then the third time we pre-recorded a video and we said, we don't care what it takes for you to prepare for this, but if you do sign up for the Institute, take a meditation class, take a breathing class, do whatever you got to do, come ready to play. It's not sit and get. It's not like you're going to walk away with tools without doing them and exploring them. It's something that you must experience to know in order to know how to. And then when we started it, we said learning at any age, and we had middle school too. We included in the last one, middle school too. We said learning must involve playful experience. And we paused there. We said, let's define the playful experience. It's not just what you have in your brain as a children play, but play is everything involving trying new things, tinkering with materials, testing boundaries, taking risks, integrating again and again, iterating things again and again, reflecting on things again and again, and making mistakes and learning from them. So we kept repeating that at the beginning, finishing one workshop again, finishing another workshop again, and we let people reflect. What out of the first day, when day one was done, did you see as opportunities for that? To make mistakes, to tinker. That's all it takes for you. You don't have to do all of them. Just find one of those aspects that I just named and take it back to your curriculum, to your materials, and try it out. See how it goes. It's not always about, I pose a question, you answer it the right way, or, you know, whoever gets to volunteer answers it the right way, and everyone else that wants to make a mistake or questions another way stays quiet. Let all the kids experiment. Say everyone try.
Angie, I think the next Porch Play Chat needs to be about the PlayMaker Institute, right?
Sure.
Because I think giving people the permission, and I remember I was talking about Dr. Drew, and they do the play experience at conferences where they have, 50 people in the room and open-ended materials on the floor, and you're around the perimeter. And I remember the first time, this was back in the early 90s, and I taught kindergarten and been a teacher and been a director for years. And I remember going there, and I always have believed in play. I remember going there and selecting the material that was calling me, is what they say. There's something that's been calling you, right? Choosing the material that was calling me and going, and they turn their backs. The facilitators turn their backs on you, so they give you no prompts. And I remember being so self-conscious. I was looking around to see what everybody else was doing with their pile of materials. And it took me, I would imagine, 8 or 9 minutes before I said, well, I guess they're not going to help me, the facilitators. And I played for my entire childhood. I guess they're not going to help me. So I guess I need to start exploring, right? And then but I think it's that discomfort. I should be doing something. I have a checklist. I could be doing blah, 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 instead of being present in the moment. Angie, this has been wonderful. I'm going to close this out. Don't go anywhere. And I'll get right back with you, because we got to keep this conversation going. Yeah. So for more information on other Porch Play Chats, or to join IPA-USA, please visit our website at IPAUSA.org. And until next time, thanks for listening, and keep on playing.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.